So how to learn multiple programming languages as quickly as possible. Now, this video was inspired from some of the comments that I've read down in the section below. Definitely appreciate whenever you guys ask questions or even suggest content. I want to make content that is very relevant to you guys. I think this will help out a lot of people that, because it is a common, I could see how someone could maybe make this mistake and how it could be a common question that a lot of people have. What's up, guys? This is Ryan from Elevate Cyber. Let's get right into it here. How would I recommend learning multiple programming languages? Well, as I'm sure my friend from Developer Direction, Josh, would back me up on, is, if you can learn one programming language, it's very easy to then learn your second language, your third language. I mean, that's something that he says all the time. And because there's so many things that carry over from one language to another. Now there might be some differences in the nuance and the syntax, right? But those differences are things you could easily Google for, and it'll be a lot easier for you to search for things because you'll have an idea of how things are set up. You'll know what things are called, or, for example, if you learn Python and you learn about lists, you might learn, okay, well, how do I use a list in Java? And then it's like, oh, okay, you use an array or something like that, right? But you'll at least have a way to know what things are called and what are the common data types. A lot of the data types exist in multiple languages, right? Like arrays, mappings, strings. Maybe there's some little nuances like Python, they call them dictionaries instead of mappings, right? So there's some differences there, but how they work is mostly the same. And you can say, okay, so in Python, lists are like arrays, except they don't have to be of a fixed size, right? They can be of any size that we create. We can append to them and things like that, right? So they are slightly different from arrays, but in this way. But that's a lot easier to learn if you're already familiar with these data types, right? So you might be tempted to go on an approach where you try to learn all these languages at once, but as I was telling my viewers in the comments section, I really don't recommend doing it that way, because what's going to happen is you're going to not really get far in any one language if you try to learn all the languages at the same time just by dipping your toes a little bit here, a little bit there. You're not going to get deep into any of these languages, and you're going to be basically doing the same thing in a bunch of different languages, right? You're going to do the most beginner things, right? Because when you first jump into a language, and if it's your first language, right, you're going to be writing code that's pretty boring, not very useful, not really doing much, right? You start off with your hello world. You might start adding some numbers together, maybe create a calculator, create something really basic, right? And you're just going to do that, or projects similar to that in let's say 4 or 5 different languages. And what you're going to find is that you didn't really learn anything beyond the basics in any of those languages. And to top it off, by the time you get to your last language, you're going to forget what you did on your first one. And that's just a very ineffective, inefficient method. The way better method would be focus on one language, right? Just pick one and just take that as far as you can. And by learning about all the things in that one language, you're going to, a lot of that stuff is going to translate over, like I was saying earlier, and that's going to make it just so much quicker when you learn your second, your third, and so on. But you'll never even get to those more advanced or intermediate topics if all you're doing is touching the very surface in 4 or 5 different languages, right? It's kind of like if you wanna read a book, right? You're going to get through that book faster if you're just reading that one book versus if you're trying to read 5 books at once, right? So it's kind of like that. So that would be for sure my recommendation. And, we don't have to get too far in depth with this stuff as security people, as far as versus a developer, right? They have to know a lot more. But even still, I think that a lot of people believe that because they have to look things up that they don't understand it. And that's not the case at all. Even developers, even your best developers, they reference documentation, they Google stuff all the time while they're developing. And there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't mean you don't know it. You need to focus on, focus on understanding what a language can, like what a library can do and things like that. But as far as memorizing the code, memorizing the syntax, it's not even worth your time. Like, go ahead. I search stuff all the time when I'm building stuff. And, similarly, as pen testers, when we're pen testing and we're constantly encountering new technologies or even old technologies that we've worked with in the past, we look stuff up all the time. We reference our notes. We go to Google. We look stuff up. Doesn't mean that we're not good at our job. We don't know what we're doing. But you're not going to memorize, and it's not even worth your time, to be honest, to memorize these, exact lines, exact things to type, right? It doesn't really benefit you to know that knowledge. And honestly, that's probably the reason that you forget anyways, right? Is because your brain doesn't even see that as something that is worth remembering. So yeah, don't be afraid to look stuff up is basically what I'm saying. And yeah, don't think that just because you can't look at a blinking terminal and type up some like PHP code to do a certain thing or some Python code to do a certain thing without looking anything up, that somehow means you don't know how to code or something. That's not the case. There's no point in memorizing stuff. You just look it up as you need. Same as like when we're pen testing, we look up stuff as we need to. So that is what I would say on that topic. Definitely, if you want to learn these languages as quickly as possible, be focused and be more narrow in what you're trying to learn, and you're going to learn it a lot faster. And then as needed, I'm a big proponent of learning things on an as needed basis, right? So as needed, then you can learn other languages and it'll be a lot faster because you have that frame of reference of like the language that you learned before that to help you out. Because especially if you're dealing with object-oriented programming languages, there's going to be so many commonalities among those. Like objects are the same, there's classes, inheritance, polymorphism, all this stuff exists in all those languages and pretty much works the exact same way, more or less. So yeah, that's what I would say on that. So hopefully that helps you guys out. And if you want to, really dive into, say, Python, go ahead and check out my playlist on the screen right now, Black Hat Python. Start out with the beginning videos and just go video by video because the beginning ones were the most basic ones. Now, with that being said, they're all a little bit kind of tricky, and you might need to look some stuff up just to understand the code sometimes. I do the best of my abilities to explain stuff, but of course, I've been coding for a little bit now for several years, so there might be something that I just kind of glaze over because I understand it and you might not know what it means. Now, I would encourage you to go ahead and try it for yourself and look it up and see what you can figure out along the way. I find that doing is one of the best ways to learn this stuff, for sure, hands-on. But yeah, go ahead and check out this playlist on screen right now if you want to get into that and start learning these languages as quickly as possible. So yeah, go ahead and subscribe, hit the like button as well, and I'll see you guys right over in those videos. Thanks for watching.